The big trade that we've all been waiting for finally transpired today, the final day of the NBA season, as Kevin Durant has been finally traded from the Phoenix Suns to the Houston Rockets in a deal which the Suns did not get basically everything that they wanted in return. They still get a solid return to look to rebuild their team around Devin Booker, while the Rockets get Kevin Durant to add to their nucleus of a top 2 team just last year in the Western Conference. We're here to break it down and look over who won this deal, what really came out of it, and what other moves we could expect to see from these respective teams now following this big trade that went down today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in into Swish City for this breakdown. We'll get into it right for you guys right now. So like I said, Kevin Durant has finally been traded, and he was traded to the Houston Rockets for Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, and the number 10 overall pick alongside 5 second rounders. And even though the player haul isn't the greatest for the Phoenix Suns, this haul, in my opinion, isn't the worst. For a player in Kevin Durant, who you tried to trade at the deadline last year and ultimately did not, you were going to not have the leverage battle in this situation. Durant ultimately gets to go to not his top preferred destination in San Antonio, but one of his preferred destinations in Houston over in Texas still. He gets to take that leap alongside a young team in the Western Conference and gets to add another solid piece to that nucleus. For the Suns, they get back Brooks, Green, and other pieces to kind of retool this squad alongside Devin Booker. So without further ado, let's dive in and let's explore who really benefited from this trade. First, we'll be diving in and looking at the Rockets. So for the Houston Rockets, this is a great trade for them. Like I mentioned, they get Kevin Durant, one of the league's probably top 10, top 15 players still here in the NBA. Following a great season last year with the Suns, he was clearly not the issue or problem. It was the rest of the team around the Suns, and unfortunately, the injuries, the coaching staff that really put this Suns team into this tough spot. And with that being said, Durant now going to the Rockets is definitely going to help them reach that next step. They also were able to keep young assets in Jabari Smith, Tari Eason, and Reed Shepard to ultimately use in other trades down the line. It will be keen to keep an eye out to see when an extension does come in for Kevin Durant here with the Houston Rockets and what kind of package that really does look for between, or what type of extension that does look like for Kevin Durant and the Rockets. Will it be 2? Will it be 3 years? We do know that it was a preferred destination, but I'm excited to see the money on that type of extension done for Durant, or if it will just be a rental type piece. Like I mentioned, the leverage was not really there for the Phoenix Suns after trying to trade Durant in last year's trade deadline. It was seemingly known widely across the league that this kind of split up was going to happen following the end of the season, and that's where we ultimately put ourselves this year kind of going into it. For the Rockets as well, like I mentioned, they gave up Jalen Green, who was, we'll get into a little bit when we talk about the Suns, not one of their prime young pieces for the Rockets really anymore, and a salary filler in Dillon Brooks, who can be, really easily replaced within this Rockets core, which we'll get into just in a little bit. The Rockets, though, do have some uncertainties now, asking the question revolving around their salary and luxury, because now sitting at $205 million and no longer having the 10th overall pick in the NBA draft, the Rockets are now fully set in to be going for this all-out push in the West to go and compete. Amen Thompson, Kevin Durant, Jabari Smith, Alperen Sengun, Reed Shepard, Cam Whitmore, Tari Eason, and Steven Adams will all be pieces that will be on this squad to really help compete. We'll have to see what they do with Fred VanVleet's team option as well. Will they restructure that contract to make it a little bit more team friendly so the Rockets can have some money either in free agency or via trade to bring in some other pieces? Will also be key to see what the Rockets do with guys Jabari Smith, Cam Whitmore, and Tari Eason, as I do know that Jabari Smith and Tari Eason are both extension eligible this offseason, and I don't think necessarily we'll see both of them land an extension, especially if Durant is going to be getting one as well, and that could potentially mean the Rockets using them in other deals down the line. The Rockets also got to keep the Suns' 27 and 29 future first-round picks, which is also key with the Suns still having some uncertainty on their direction. Those could also provide to be some worth of value in the long run or in the immediate future for the Rockets as well in some deals, depending on how teams really value this trade for the Suns. Ultimately, for the Rockets, I think they do get a better win than the Suns, but I don't think it's technically a win-lose trade here. I do view it as a win-win for both sides. I just ultimately think that the Suns, even though they did try to get one of Jabari, Tari, or Reed, should have came out of this package with at least one of them on this squad. But for the Rockets, it gives those guys the ability to potentially flip those contracts down the line to even attract more star power to put alongside Durant. So a huge win for the Rockets. Now for the Suns, this is where it gets a little bit difficult because the two guys that they mainly brought back were Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks. And a lot of people are probably going to say that the most attractive piece in this deal was bringing back the 10th overall pick, as that obviously has a lot of future implications for the Suns and really striking and getting a good talent here to bring into Phoenix on a rookie scale contract. But not only just that, but that was their pick originally this season. So the Suns get back their pick this year, which is very, very key. We know that that's why they tried to get a deal done before the NBA draft, was so they could get a lottery pick and be able to use that either to flip in other deals or to use it to make a key selection. But when looking at the two players they got back, Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks, I think the main real takeaway from Suns fans on why they don't like the Jalen Green fit is simply because he plays the same position as Devin Booker and is a very similarly styled player, working with the ball off ball in his hands and finding that success. But I do think a guy like Jalen Green can still blossom and can still work on this Suns squad. Now, John Gambadoro came out and said that the Suns do not plan to trade Jalen Green at this very moment. Maybe they did try to offload him in a 3-team deal, but were unsuccessful to do so. But this points that the Suns are going to be looking to move off of Bradley Beal and or Grayson Allen in these next couple of weeks, which also gives me some, I guess, leeway in kind of thinking about where this team can officially go. Because if they do get off of these contracts in Bradley Beal or Grayson Allen, this could set up the Suns to really rework their roster and still not look half bad going into next year, even if they do have Jalen Green and Devin Booker on this squad. The main takeaway with Jalen Green is obviously he's a very athletic slasher, but the one key concern is the fact that he's very inefficient with his shot taking selection, and also isn't the most efficient scorer. He can have games where he can have 40, the next game he'll have 16, and that's very, very weary for some teams trying to rebuild and trying to find out their star guy and trying to believe in him. But I ultimately do believe that a guy in Jalen Green playing alongside Devin Booker, where Booker's in that point guard role, can make it a little bit more alleviating for a guy in Jalen Green to really thrive in this system with the Phoenix Suns. Now, do I think this is the perfect fit? Do I think this was the best move to go and get for the Suns? No, but I don't think it is the absolute worst deal that they could have gone. There's still the plausibility of Jalen Green coming into this rotation, looking solid with the Phoenix Suns, and either fitting in alongside Devin Booker or at least rebuilding his value to where he is a tradable asset out there on the market, to where if the fit doesn't work with him and alongside Devin Booker, the Suns can go out and get at least some sort of value at the wing or center department to replace what Jalen Green replicates and can ultimately get off of his contract. And the Suns also got Dillon Brooks. Dillon Brooks, a very, very solid defender, been notoriously known for being a guy that gets underneath people's skin, and I really think this is what the Phoenix Suns wanted to identify with on the defensive side of the ball with Jordan Ott and Brian Gregory in their press conferences, and a guy in Dillon Brooks is really going to fit that mold of that relentless guy, that guy that's going to talk on the court, be physical, be that connector for this Phoenix Suns team defensively. I also think he could be a solid role model for Ryan Dunn, and even potentially puts the plausibility of Ryan Dunn coming off the bench for this Phoenix Suns squad, which, yes, does stunt his growth a little bit here compared to last season, but I do think even if he is coming off the bench, that could give the Suns a maybe more vital role for Ryan Dunn, but also bring out a better side in him, because as a rookie last year, he was very impressive, but also had some key glances where people were like, oh, well, Dunn can't do that, or Dunn can't do this, and that was because he was tasked with being not only the only POA defender, but playing basically 25 to 30 minutes a night. If he has another solid defender in Dillon Brooks on this team, it's only going to make Ryan Dunn look more impactful as a defender with that secondary unit and only allow him to continue to be a bright, shining star for Phoenix Suns fans. So I like this move once again, bringing in a guy in Dillon Brooks. And then you forget to mention that the Suns brought in the 10th overall pick here as well, alongside 5 second-round picks, one of those being pick 59 in this year's draft. So with that being said, the Suns have four draft picks going into the draft now, compared to just yesterday where they had only 2 at 29 and 52. And this gives the Suns multiple possibilities, right? They could use that 10th overall pick and package it with a Bradley Beal to get off of his contract and really save this team in the long run. They could also use 52 and 59 to potentially move up in the draft, or even use pick 29 with one of these contracts to move up in the draft. Who knows what the possibilities are? And if that's the case, the Suns can bring in at least 1 or 2 starting level guys or key players on rookie scale deals that will help them save some money, but also have guys like Ryan Dunn and Oso Ighodaro have some key development with some other young pieces on this core to really put this team into that retool build. Because if guys like Ryan Dunn, Oso Ighodaro, and potentially 1 or 2 first-round picks really do hit for this Phoenix Suns team, now you have a young core building alongside Devin Booker, and you have the plausibility of being still exciting and fun with guys on rookie scale contracts instead of making $40-50 million a season. And that allows you to bring in those filler pieces like a Dillon Brooks, like a Jalen Green to really help out this squad, or even use some of those contracts to move out and get other new pieces in. It's very, very keen to keep an eye on. Also with the Suns, they have Cody Martin and Vasilije Micic still on these non-guaranteed and team option contracts, which still gives them the flexibility of waiving those to drop below and get close into the first apron, allowing them to have more flexibility out on the trade market in trades using the 10th overall pick, but not only just that, in free agency as well. With the 10th overall pick as well, keep forgetting to mention this, the Suns can really, really strike on bringing in a high-level piece. The Suns don't need guard, they need wing, they need center, but who knows? Could they land a Malawak potentially at 10? Could they find a deal that lands them a pick or 2 up higher if Malawak is dropping to 7 or 8 to get Malawak as a centerpiece? Could they get a Carter Bryant? Who's a solid wing defender? Could they get a Thomas Sorber? Could they get a Colin Murray's Boyles? Could they get anybody out there on the market? I truly do believe that this Suns team can go out and find that true center that they really want in the draft at this pick 10, or potentially even if they move back, right, getting more assets in return, moving back from pick 10 and landing 14 or 18 or something like that. That would also be key for the Suns in trying to really evaluate this roster. Once again, Brian Gregory, Matt Ishbia, this is their first move. Obviously not the biggest return for the Phoenix Suns, not the flashiest return, as Jalen Green still plays the same position as Devin Booker, but I don't think this is the worst case scenario for the Suns. There's still some optimism on what this team can truly be able to build, and this deal does not go through until July 6th, which gives them the option to get more teams involved in this deal and even give them a better return. So keep your eyes out on what the Phoenix Suns do leading up to July 6th. Keep an eye out with many teams now getting involved in the draft, and with today being the final day of the NBA season, as the Pacers and Thunder are getting set to tip off in just about 4 hours as of recording right now for Game 7 of the NBA Finals. There will be more trades, more breakdowns, and more stuff revolving around the NBA. So if you want to stay up to date with everything, make sure to hit the subscribe button, as here on Switch City, I will be getting you guys with updates revolving around every topic surrounding the NBA. We already had the two trade videos dropping on Desmond Bane the other day, and now Kevin Durant on this Sunday afternoon. Next, obviously, we have our offseason breakdowns where we've been breaking down, looking at every single team. We have the final 2 teams left, the Pacers and Thunder, ultimately waiting to see who wins the finals to break that down. Have those up for you Monday and Tuesday, and then we'll get into our draft, free agency, and any more trade videos for you guys on this channel. So if you do enjoy the content, I do appreciate you all. Hit the subscribe button. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day, and peace out, y'all.